So, how do I even begin this little tale, right? So, when I woke up the next morning, surprisingly, Rainbow Dash was laying in my bed, obviously, no hesitation there, and she just said she had to crash at my place for a while. Her parents just let her go without recognition, the usuals. And not to mention, I heard trotting going toward my front door, and when I opened the door, out comes Applejack, and she looks nervous, to say the least. Like, she just didn't seem like her happy, darn tootin' herself. And I asked her what was the problem, and she said, Blade, you've been ignoring my phone calls for the last couple of months in a row now. Have you been separated from reality? And I told her I wasn't. I'd just been busy with family crisis. Literally, it's no joke. I've been doing a family crisis for the last couple of days anyway. And Rainbow Dash was still asleep, so I just did not bug about the question. And I heard my front door being knocked on, right? And when I open it, I see Fluttershy. Just this happens every once in a while. She'll come at my front door and she'll just say, "Hey, Blade, how's it going?" And I told her everything's just fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just Applejack woke me up this morning. Rainbow Dash sitting on my bed, of course. The usuals. And then the next person I see is someone I didn't think I'd see in a long while. My brother. Almost my identical twin, if you will. King. Or as he goes by his other name, Scar the Hedgehog. I see him and I'm like, what are you doing here? And what are you doing with Fluttershy? I thought Fluttershy was with Tails. And I remembered. Tails and Fluttershy broke up years back. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. New relationship, right? And she blushed at the question and looked away, as she always does. And Scar finally said, yes, it's official. And I told him, I'm happy to hear that you two are finally dating, but care to explain what you're going to do with that other kid from when Tails was around? And King tried to brush it off as we're getting that sorted out right now. Well, come on in. Make yourself at home. I'm going to go deal with Applejack and Rainbow Dash right now while you two get comfy. So I walk back in the bedroom, and Rainbow Dash is snoring like a foghorn that doesn't shut up. But I knew she just had a busy night. And so Applejack was sitting on my beanbag in the corner of my room, and I was just telling her the whole spill about why I haven't been texting her at all. And then she finally understood where I was coming from, and she was like, okay, Blade, you have a point. I'm not going to hold against you. But next time, try not to go this long without talking to me. Got that? And I said, okay, don't make it a big deal. And so she walked out of the room without hesitation and nothing else. And so I decided to wake up my living alarm clock on my bed, a.k.a. Rainbow Dash. And I literally pushed her a little bit and said, wake up. And then she finally opened one eye and said, okay, Blade, you don't have to be a big meanie about the fact I'm a foghorn. Wait, you heard that? And then she finally responded, yes, I heard everything. Don't think I don't have highly trained ears. And then I was like, please don't take offense to it. I was only saying in the moment. And she brushed it off and said, okay, I'll go to the bathroom and get ready for whatever has to be done today. And so I walk back into the living room, and Fluttershy is holding Scar's right hand. And I knew the connection was very, very beyond mutual. I knew this. And I'm like, so how did you two even meet? And then, both of them blushed out of, just curiosity from the fact I just asked the question that doesn't make sense to them. But Scar finally answered with, I just met her at the park. She was taking care of the animals, as she always does, and I bumped into her. Wait, as I was saying, wait, you bumped into her at the park? And then Fluttershy blushed even more by the realization that it was one of her daily routines she goes through every day, which is obviously going to the park to take care of the animals. And I just was dumbfounded. So you met her on one of her jobs she does? And then then Scar said, "Yes, that's exactly what happened." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not holding against you." And then Rainbow Dash floating while sleepwalking again. I'm like, "Rainbow Dash, wake up!" And then she fell to the floor with a splat. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And then she said in an annoyed tone, "What do you think? You just woke me up from my sleepwalking." Sorry. Just getting used to you having you around now. That's all. But in reality, in my head, I was remembering back to my previous life before the timelines got altered. I remembered I lost her due to her leaving town, and I had to raise a kid on my own. A whole bunch of stuff that was tragic at best. And she looked at me like I had a deja vu moment, and she was asking, "Blade, are you okay?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm more than fine." But in reality, I wasn't. My brain was splitting in two because of the alternate timeline where I came from, and then this new one that is supposedly my new life. It was kind of hard to get over your past life when you've already lived it originally. Trust me, guys, it ain't easy getting over what your past life used to be. And I was looking in my drawer in my bedroom after the conversation dropped. I was looking in and I found this weird, oddly shaped box that still said, "Don't open it till over the age of 18." And I was still curious as to why it was still here in this house for, unless it's like a family heirloom. And on the back, I noticed instructions on how to use this item in particular. And I was like, wait, it's an energy based weapon? But yet, why is it sitting in a box collecting dust? Then I remembered. My legend has just started. Remember? It started. So, obviously, this is supposed to be my weapon of choice that I'm going to be using in the far future. But the main issue would have been me trying to use it, because it looks like I'm not old enough to use it yet. Blade would have been around age, 16, 15, around this time. He wasn't old enough to understand how weapons were made out of energy just yet. Not quite. And so, after the weirdest morning of his life, he inevitably just went to bed and just lay down on it. No question whatsoever. And then Rainbow Dash, walked up to him on the edge of the bed and said, "Blade, are you sure you're okay? You don't seem okay." And then I tried to point out something that was, from my previous timeline, but I didn't make it obvious. "Rainbow Dash, uh," and then I stopped for a second and realized if I told her about the alternate timeline, well, that's revealing too much of her possible future. A possible future. And then I said, "Nothing. It's just nothing. It's just me thinking about how hard my day was." And so she got on the bed, laid next to me, and just, laid her head on my shoulder. It was kind of cute, actually. It was adorable. She was even snoring as well, but she laid her head on my shoulder. It was adorable. And so King walked in and I was like, "Oh, hey, man, how's it hanging?" And then he's like, "Nothing, just nothing. You think I can crash at your place for a while? I don't have a house, and neither does Fluttershy. You can crash in the spare bedroom that I used to use. I might warn you though, it looks like some debris from my training yesterday might have put holes in it." And he replied, "Oh, it's nothing, I can fix that. Actually, now that you're here, what was your power?" And then both of us stopped in our tracks from thinking for about 5 seconds because neither of us knew what it would do. His eye color were in almost opposite of my own, pretty close. But instead of having a green eye on one of his eyes, it's a red one. And I'm trying to think back. What was the mixture of those two colors be? It just didn't make sense to me. And then, about a couple hours later, when he got comfy in the bed, spare bedroom, I heard this bang, if you will, kind of like a big nuke explosion that went off. And when I walk in the room, I find fire on the walls, and what else do I see on the ceiling? Water droplets. And I'm like, wait, you have fire and water? And Scar admitted, but kind of, all over the place a little bit. He's like, sorry about the spare bedroom. And I'm like, I'm not worried about that. You had my powers before. And then Scar, looking confused, kind of asked the question, wait, what do you mean by you had? Aren't you fire and ice? And then I explained about the whole alternate timeline where I came from, and then he finally understood, wait, you were originally fire and water? So you mean to tell me that... And then I said, yes. And it looks like that you took that power. And he kind of stopped in his tracks a bit, and he's like, really? And I'm like, really? And so for the next couple of months, I tried to train him on his powers because obviously he was inexperienced. The fact that he almost blew the spare bedroom up with fire and water in the air, just pretty much exploding the place up, I was like, let's try and help you. Let's try and help you. And so Fluttershy watched in awe for the next couple of months as this happened. Rainbow Dash was watching very closely. I mean, she was giving me the big eyes treatment. Like she wanted something out of me. I could tell you from my previous life, something about her big eyes was giving me that she wants something out of me look. Pretty easy to notice. It kind of bothered me that she would find me again, even though I never met her on my first day of school, like we never met like that no more. It was something else. But it was comforting, to say the least, that she was back in my arms again. And, as the months went by, I found something on the news that didn't make much sense to me and why it was there. It said Sunset Shimmer was reported missing one of the days I was in my bed, that I wasn't even paying attention. And it said that her child, right, with me, was gone too. Almost like they vanished out of thin air, right? And so it begged the question, where is she now with my one daughter? It just spiraled questions that didn't make sense. But I try not to think about it too much. It was, I'm sure she'll find her way back here. It's probably a dimensional thing where she has to jump through dimensions to find me. Again, the usual stuff. So, as Blade turned the age of 16, his life had eventually come full circle. almost full circle. But the one thing that he found in his drawer was so crazy that he thought his dad made it up, a.k.a. Slash made this one up. He found a paper in his drawer full of his, jackets and scarves, He found a paper on fusion. And it even revealed the steps on how to do it. But Blade kept looking at it as like, why would his dad leave that in his drawer for? Like, why? It didn't make sense to him. And so he brought the idea to Rainbow Dash, and lo and behold, Blade and Rainbow Dash accidentally say the words Chaos Control in unison, but all you could see was the blackout.
What is this? Why does it feel like I'm in a new body? This is really creeping me out. Wait. What on earth am I looking at? Why does my hair feel spiky? This feels weird. And what happened to my legs? I got hooves for feet. But yet I got hands for arms. What? And why do I have wings on my legs? Okay, this is officially creeping me out, for one. Wait, why is there a cutie mark in the shape of a thunderbolt with, what is that, fire and ice swirling? What is this? Okay, this is creeping me out. Oh no, there goes the split.
The silhouette even, of the figure that was meant to be them put together. But what happened next was surprising. The fusion didn't stick. And the one thing that said on the paper, the fusion has to be bound by an emotion. Bound by one. Or however many it takes to keep it stable. And then Blade realized he had the love connection with this alternate Rainbow Dash from the timeline he was originated from. But he doesn't have that connection here. So what he has to do now is build back there again. And then try it. It really just put Blade in a spiral. And all he can remember from the minute he was fused with Rainbow Dash, he could feel like he was stronger, like something else was different. Like it wasn't just him he could feel. It was like someone else there too, But yet, he still felt like himself. Almost bigger in a way. He tried to put the feeling off for the next couple of days, He didn't think too much on it. But the feeling was amazing. It was like a new person that spawned from his personality and Rainbow Dash's as well. So, as time went on again, he tried to think about what he could do to build this love relationship with Rainbow Dash to get that fusion back. Because they got the first two steps right. Saying Chaos Control, and then, the merge actually taking place, or the fusion taking place. But the third and final step was getting it to stabilize, and they were nowhere near it. So, as Blade went to bed that night, Rainbow Dash was not that far away from him on the other side of the bed. Like a few inches, not that far. And Blade stroked her mane, and said, Dashy, I'm sorry about, your parents, letting go of you. And she admittedly cried in her sleep a little bit, but she reluctantly let it go, It was just parents being parents. And so, Blade made a solemn promise. Dashy, I will protect you no matter what it takes. I will. And that's where we leave our story, folks. I know it's quite a mouthful, but hey, I was just introducing my best friend Scar the Hedgehog, aka Nitro King. Um, and I'm sure he's gonna be crying tonight, letting everyone know that he finally got introduced into a universe story. So go give him thanks wherever you can. Doesn't matter. Send him in the comment section right now saying, "We love you, man." Like, just help him out, will ya? All right. Fire and Ice God out.